Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Goldberg. I'm a Director of Product Marketing at Snowflake, and I'm going to be the moderator for today's event. And welcome to this Office Hours with Lucid, the world's largest online market research survey platform. So over the next 30 minutes, we will spend time talking with Doug Smith and Gil Paul with Lucid. And they're going to be talking about their experience and journey with Snowflake and our data warehouse. And as the event proceeds, please type all questions into the Q&A panel on the On24 dashboard, because that's really the core component of this event is all of you on the line bouncing your questions off of the folks at Lucid. So they're going to go through some slides, and then when they're done with the slides, I'm going to go through all your Q&A and verbally ask your questions to Doug and Gil. And please remember, ask any and all questions, as no questions are off limits. So with that, and without further ado, Doug, off to you.
Hey, great, thank you. I'm not sure about no questions are off limits. I think we need to have some reasonable decorum, but given that, we'll take just about anything on Snowflake. How about that? So my name is Doug Smith. I am part of Lucid. Most people would not know what Lucid is. It's not a household name. Probably is in some ways, because what we do is market research and branding for global market research. I'll share a little bit more about that in a minute. My background specifically is in business intelligence, data science. I've spent about 19 years with IBM building out data science applications, business intelligence applications in IBM's corporate marketing, market intelligence and development, also their sales enablement organization to do insights that are deployed globally. So joining Lucid from a company like IBM, going from 400,000 employees to a company with now just over 500 was quite a change. What's not a change is the amount of data that we have. So I joined Lucid primarily because we have a tremendous asset in terms of our data. And why we're sharing today is to give a little bit of background and story about what makes Lucid kind of unique and how Snowflake has been so instrumental just over the past 8-9 months in terms of helping us advance the state and the health of our data systems from a BI perspective. And Gil's going to go through kind of, how we did that. So I'll start with, just what is Lucid? And I don't want to spend much time introing the company, except to say you kind of need to know who we are in order to appreciate what we're going to share in a few minutes. And that is, Lucid has essentially, three different parts of the business. We are the largest sample platform in the world. And when you think of sample, this is an age-old term that was used in the, let's say, the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s that were called, research panels. Sample is also known for that kind of thing. You think of it in terms of obviously political polling, which we're going to have a big year this year because of that, but also companies like Procter & Gamble, companies like Toyota, who are looking for brand recognition and measurement. We work with a lot of additional companies that are in the consulting area, like Bain and McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, KPMG. These companies do a lot of engagements for, say, CPG companies or other large industrial companies who are looking to do some market research, and they use us as a platform to do that. So the power of the platform is really, there are two sides of it. One is marketplace supply, and that is where we've built out our kind of suite of suppliers of audiences that can answer survey questions. That's about 250 suppliers globally. And then we have on the buy side companies that want to field a survey and then have transparency through our marketplace to go through and see who's going to be able to provide answers to those questions and then be able to select accordingly. A third part of the business that we've been really growing in the past year, and this year is kind of our launch point, is impact measurement, where we can look at campaign and media measurement tools using a lens through our platform to help companies better understand the impact of their efforts out in the social media space, out in the click-through space, on the web in general, as well as print and screen. So that's who we are. How does it kind of work? We work on really three aspects. We have the scale of our supply network, and then we have programmatic connections. So, why is this important? What is the Lucid platform unique about? We set up a very, very robust and flexible framework that connects these two parties and connects them in ways, again, highlighting transparency in terms of what you're seeking and what you're getting paid versus what you're paying. As well, we have a tremendous amount of backbone in here to help identify the kind of audiences that you're looking for. So we have a list of what we call standard qualifications that may say, I want beer drinking football players coming this Sunday to take a survey on, what they think about, I don't know, fast cars or any other way. We could likewise select panels of different populations all around the world. So we operate in 150 plus countries, and we have access to literally hundreds of millions of potential survey takers. So that's who we are. And then on the marketplace side, again, we're giving clarity from the standpoint of gathering this data and then providing insights through the lens of our marketplace in terms of what audiences are seeing, what they're remembering, and what their impressions are. That's our audience measurement impact. And lastly, I'm just going to close with, why is this important that we're on this platform? And why Snowflake is really, helping us. We've been around. This is our 10-year anniversary, 2020. We started in 2010. In that time alone, and you got to consider we had many years up until 2015 before this was really programmatic and IT driven. And since then, we're entirely IT driven. But we've answered about 29 billion questions. If you think about, the need for a platform in order to, manage this scale of data, it was pretty obvious to us that Snowflake was a really good partner to choose and leverage as we grow out the business. So with that, if you have any questions about Lucid, you can search online or you can contact us offline. I'm going to turn it over to Yoke, who has the really high value part of this presentation. Yoke?
Thank you, Doug. Hi, everyone. My name is Gil Paul. I lead the BI engineering team at Lucid. I'm also the architect and creator of our current data warehouse, which serves as the backbone to our operational reporting and also allows the business to make data-driven decisions. So I've been with the company for 3 years, and I've been working in data industry for over 10 years. I have worked with many data management systems from Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, Informatica, MDM, Redshift, Postgres, and recently Snowflake. So today I'm very excited to share with you our journey, why, how, and what we gained from migrating to Snowflake. So on the top left, here's our diagram for our BI ecosystem before Snowflake. As you can see, we have SQL Server, which is one of our main data sources. We had many SSIS packages that pull data into our staging area and then load aggregate data into OLAP Cube using analysis services. On the top right is the rest of our data pipeline. Our data sources consist of structured and semi-structured data. The data is being loaded into Amazon Redshift using custom ETLs, ELTs, that are written in multiple languages such as Scala, Go, and Python, and they are scheduled via Airflow. Okay, then we connect our Power BI to the Cube, and this serves as the self-service area where the business user can create their own dashboard and reports. Redshift also used as a data hub for SSRS reporting and ad hoc analysis. So here are the challenges we face with this ecosystem. First one is the biggest one, which is not easily scalable. As Doug mentioned, Lucid is a growing, fast-growing company. We average around 40% growth each year, and not being able to scale is definitely a deal breaker for us. Also, changes are difficult and time-consuming to implement. We're dealing with complex processes, and we have to make sure that all the systems are working together. We also rely heavily on DBA and data engineering to keep the system alive, and also to implement changes at the upstream layer before BI can make changes to our data models and reports. With our growth, also the data volume has increased tremendously. We face low performance on large tables in our complex queries. The maintenance is also an important factor. And last, users compete over the same resources and not easily manageable. It's such a pain point. So we know that in order for us to stay competitive and innovative, we need something better, we need an alternate solution. So our data platform goals are to build a single data hub and BI data models that are utilized as one source of truth. We also want an ability to control all business logics and transformations in one place that we can easily manage and make changes to. And we also need something that we can efficiently integrate with our existing reporting tools. So I began my journey. Our first objective is to replace OLAP Cube. And to do so, we designed and created new data models inside of Amazon Redshift, including 89 dimension and 5-fact tables. Later, due to the complexity of our business rules and data volume, this approach did not work out at the end. It was it's very stressful at that time, and I thought to myself, there has to be a better technology out there that can solve our problems. So I started my research and later discovered Snowflake. At first, it sounds incredible, but too good to be true. So I contact the sales rep and quickly sign up for a trial. And 2 weeks later, I have a prototype created, released to a focus group. We received really good feedback. Everyone seemed to love it, and the POC was very successful. Then we signed a contract with Snowflake and start building our BI data lake and data warehouse inside of Snowflake. So next, this is our BI stack after Snowflake. As you can see, we have very diverse data sources as S3, Salesforce, NetSuite, SQL, Kafka Stream, and even Excel. I mean, business can't function without Excel spreadsheet, right? And we also have Mattila for process integration, data loading, and also job scheduler. Then, as you can see here, we have Snowflake to host our data lake and data warehouse. And we deliver the information through various visualization tools, through like Power BI, SSRS, and we recently implemented Tableau and IBM Watson for data scientists and predictive initiatives. So why we chose Snowflake? Snowflake integrates seamlessly with Amazon, AWS, and it requires zero maintenance, easy to use, and allow us to ultimately be flexible and diverse on both ends, diverse on the data side and also diverse in the tool. We can kind of plug and play, and we can achieve fast performance, and we see a lot of opportunities with data sharing features. Here, I want to share some of our stats of improvement from old system to the new system. As you can see, for a data warehouse load, with the increment load, the old system, it took 5 hours. With Snowflake, with the large site warehouse, we're able to complete our daily load within 30 minutes. For the full load, you're looking at, from 3 to 5 days to 6 hours. And time spent on maintenance, this is huge because we used to spend like 10 to 15 hours a week kind of fighting with CPU spike, try to like tune the queries and all that kind of stuff. Now we spend literally like 0 or less than an hour a week dealing with the maintenance. Development speed is also a very important one. We used to release like way less than 5 changes a month because the system is super complex. Now we're able to release like more than 15 changes a month. Okay, so since we're running out of time, I wanted to highlight a few items that I haven't touched on here. Our ability to scale, compute, and storage independently is saving us a lot of money compared to our previous solution and has reduced our building complexity. Ability to like drive innovation by providing rich data exploration capability with our PBI presentation layer, Tableau, and Watson Studio. And I guess most importantly, for me, Snowflake allow my team to focus on high value added activities rather than trying to keep the system alive. So off to Joe.
Great. Perfect. So thanks, Joe. We do have some questions that came in. I'll verbally read them back. And also a reminder for everyone on the call to please submit your questions via the Q&A box in On24, because the remainder of this office hours is really you asking questions to Yoke and Doug. So the first question, actually, I'm going to combine 2 questions here for you, Yoke. On the prior slide you showed where it said old systems, 1, are you referring to AWS Redshift? And 2, you called out a couple of problems with the old solution. What was the number 1 problem? You had to prioritize it.
I guess number 1 problem is not easily scalable. Just because, like I said, with the growth, we have a growth percentage at 40%. And we also like make changes on the fly all the time, and not being able to make some changes to, like, for example, our account structure, or like our organizational structure that we're reporting on in a timely manner is a big deal to us.
Yeah, and it's Doug. The other limitation has less to do with the technology itself and more just kind of the platform engagement requirements, I guess I'm going to say, and that is that we have a IT and tech and product group throughout Lucid that works on many different things, including maintaining infrastructure. With Snowflake, BI controls our environment with Snowflake, and yet we don't need to hire network engineers, DBAs, things like that. In a smaller company like Lucid, which again, we were 300 people in 2018. We're now over 500 going into 2020, and it'll be 700 by the end of this year. So we're growing really fast, but we don't have resource to just toss at infrastructure. So every time we need to make a change on Redshift, it becomes a design debate as well as anything. There's many other people going into it. So with Snowflake, we can just make that change. Would you agree, Yoke?
Definitely. Yeah, that's such a great point, because it allows our team to be self-sufficient and keep the team slim. And I also forgot to mention that, like, on top of like the tight deadline, during the migration, I was pregnant at the time, and also the function has like moved from tech product into operational team. We also lost some of our legacy team, and like Doug just joined the team, and we formed a new BI organization. Like Doug mentioned already, like we don't need to hire a data engineering or DBA to run and support our data warehouse. And I was able to like successfully like create and run with Snowflake before I head out on my maternity leave, which we have really tight window. So it's very impressive, and I don't think I can do it without any other technology besides Snowflake.
Gotcha. Perfect. So another question has come in here around ETL tools. We typically get asked about this, but what other ETL solutions did you look at, and what led you to choose Mattila? And sorry, one other thing too, just for Yoke and Doug, we've got literally about 30 questions here in the queue, so feel free to give kind of to the point answers if it's possible. So why did you pick Mattila as the question here?
So I think we started off with like literally custom Python code that we scheduled via Airflow. And then once Snowflake released the feature for like procedure and task, we actually create the code inside of Snowflake. And then we're looking for scalable solution, and we're thinking like we need a tool where can help us manage dependency. And like Snowflake, Mattila is literally so easy, and we can seamlessly integrate with AWS.
And I'm gonna chime on one other thing. I think you mentioned ETL solutions, and we don't look at Snowflake as kind of an ETL or an ELT, whatever the industry's calling it. We're actually leveraging and on working with our Snowflake representative, Michael Duncan. We've also connected with Mattila, and we're currently kind of going through the security configuration for Mattila to do more scheduled workflows, data transfers from our backend systems like NetSuite, Salesforce, even Excel files or Google Sheets into Snowflake.
Gotcha. Okay, and then so someone asked about Airflow. Is Airflow still in the mix for orchestration, or is it going to be is that going to disappear and it's going to be really Mattila and other solutions?
Disappear. So we are going to be utilizing Mattila solely.
Gotcha. Okay. Another question came in is, have you been looking at Snowflake's data exchange or data sharing capabilities?
We're looking into it. We see a lot of opportunity coming up. We haven't actively working on it just because I believe that the exchange is not available in our region currently right now, but definitely it's in the book in Q4 this year. We just have a ton of initiatives that like once we successfully build one solution, like which is our data warehouse, we're looking to improve our infrastructure even more. And we want to ultimately like cut off the use from Redshift and build some cool stuff. Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, and for those not familiar with it, data exchange is just Snowflake's way of making it very easy to share data that a customer has in their tables with externals, including partners, without having to copy the data. So you basically just expose your data to trusted partners and externals, and they can easily access it. So it's a secure, easy way of sharing data with others. Another question came in. It said you've talked a decent amount around the IT benefits of moving to Snowflake, but what were the benefits to the end users, the people using Power BI and Tableau, for example?
I mean, to me, having the data available in front of them quicker, like for example, if we adding new market, new product, able to develop quickly and have the data available in front of them or make changes too. And also the power of like innovation, right? Once people have that data, they're able to explore and come up with new ideas, and we able to save a ton of money for business, and Doug can talk more about that. Like, especially around like trust and safety.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, for us, it's all about having one source of truth as well as having more ready access to some of the data we're trying to build out. That's all. So from that standpoint, Power BI is, and we've looked at Tableau to deliver, we've looked at Looker, and we've evaluated that against Power BI. We've stayed with Power BI because most of our reporting is done internally, and it's entirely suitable for what we need to use it for at this point. We do use Tableau for some data viz and Watson Studio for some harder core data science and analytics. So we're pretty agnostic with tools and tool sets. We just feel like Snowflake is a good platform to sit it on.
Perfect. And then one question, I'll take a cut at answering one of these. Someone's asking, is Mattila part of Snowflake? Are they a partner? I should clarify, Snowflake, we're an enterprise data warehouse, can be used as a data lake as well, but we are not an ETL tool, so Mattila is not part of Snowflake. They're a partner of ours, just like MicroStrategy or Fivetran or any ETL tool. Same thing with all the BI tools, Looker, Tableau, Power BI, for example. Those are all external vendors, external companies, but Snowflake will work with any standard BI tool out there via JDBC or ODBC. Okay, so another question here is, were there any sort of surprises in the migration from Redshift to Snowflake? Any kind of lessons learned, things you might do differently?
Not so much of lesson learned building a platform in Amazon Redshift. Like we're trying to build like a tabular model within Redshift. I don't really have any lesson learned from Snowflake, much of like learning the new feature, and like I'm very impressed with the tool. It's like super powerful and super easy. Like giving you an example, it's like normally like it takes time for me to prep up the test environment, but with Snowflake I was able to clone the database like bigger than like 20 gigabytes within 2 seconds. Like I'm not even kidding, like 2 seconds. So it's very impressed, and also a lot of mistakes happen. Like if you accidentally like deleting data, wipe off something, you can like kind of go back. Like Snowflake have like the time traveler thing. You can go back in time and revert the changes without having to really do the backup beforehand. I think that's super powerful.
Yep. Yeah, I should clarify on that in terms of backup. Another question did come on around backup, and does Snowflake make do you make 2 copies of your data, things like that? I should clarify from the UI perspective, we have something called time travel, where the Yoke just talked about. You can literally go back in time in Snowflake to previous table or any kind of previous operation to undo user mistakes. Also, Snowflake under the covers automatically, we copy all your data at no additional cost across into multiple data centers in a multiple availability zones within one region. So God forbid one of AWS's data centers goes down, your data is still replicated in another one. So we always have that built-in redundancy as well. And then if you really want redundancy, we have replication and failover, which you can even do across clouds, like across AWS and GCP and Azure. So in case an entire global cloud provider goes down, you do have a backup. So Yoke, yeah, and Doug, actually, I'm going to try to combine a couple questions in here. People are curious to know the specifics of how you hook up Power BI to Snowflake. They're asking things like, do you go directly from Power BI to Snowflake tables? Do you use Snowflake views? Are there data cubes involved? Maybe you can walk through that a bit.
So we don't need cube, right? Because Snowflake is really fast performance. So to answer that question, it's easy. We build like our data warehouse have a bunch of views that literally already integrate data from multiple different sources after we model the data, and then we connect directly with Power BI. Power BI have Snowflake connection directly, and like in PBI you have import and direct query. We use both, kind of depend on the volume of the models. If it's really big, we will do direct query and just like tap into like computing and pretty much like aggregate data directly. And if we have a product where we need data to be fast, then we use imported mode. So we kind of do both. And also another thing cool about it is like I can have like multiple models, and I have like each model dedicate to like create a warehouse dedicate to each model. So that way it allows me to kind of monitor usage and also scale up and down as we go.
Gotcha. And actually on that note, a couple questions came around modeling. Someone says, do you use any modeling tools? How do you model your data? And someone else asks, how do you model the data in Snowflake? So I think you just kind of touched on that, but if you can elaborate.
I do both. So the cleaning, the transformation, and the integration is being handled inside of Snowflake. The aggregation, it can happen both places. So it's kind of like depend. It's not black and white. It's kind of gray area. But mostly like the calculation, I have it inside of Power BI.
Gotcha.
And that's
okay.
why I'm saying like like direct query is like, because Snowflake is so powerful, it makes sense with direct query. You can just go and query big chunk of data and return the result quickly.
Gotcha. Another question is coming in around maintenance. And so and I'll combine two questions. One is, do you have any DBAs on staff to support Snowflake? And I think, Yoke, maybe that's you. And then the other one says,
we have none.
Okay, none. And the other one says, what kind of, prior slide said you do maintenance 0 to 1 hours a week on Snowflake. What is that maintenance you do on Snowflake during that, 0 to 1 hours a week?
Setting up user, granting permission. Like we also, our Snowflake is also act as the hosting for our internal application. So sometimes people like using some application and they want to connect with Snowflake as the data store. So I have to set that up. So it's more of like building new things, like not really a true maintenance, but I'm just bucket them together because that's also a DBA function.
Gotcha. Okay. And let's see here. And another question is, what do you do to manage costs in Snowflake? Or is cost an issue?
Usually, cost is really not an issue. From an engineering perspective, I love ability, like I said, that I can create multiple warehouse which use as an engine to run the product, right? So I pretty much kind of monitoring it on a daily basis or monthly basis. And Snowflake come with the visualization that allow you to kind of drill down into like why this costs this much, and you can kind of make some changes to your solution and like, scale up or scale down accordingly.
Gotcha. Yep. And I should mention to folks on the line, Snowflake does have built into it functionality called resource monitors, where you can monitor usage of a data warehouse, and you can set up alerts. So if you do hit a certain number of credits, you used a certain amount of your subscription, if you will, you can get alerted on it, so you don't have sort of runaway costs from like a rogue user or people running poorly written searches.
And definitely, and also if you design your product appropriately, like you don't have to worry much about that. Like for example, if you have a data model in PBI that on imported mode, the data is only loaded like once a day. So you only hit Snowflake once a day. So you only be in charge once a day. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of have to like play around with it.
Yep. And let's hear. Yeah. In terms of, by the way, just for folks on the line, I know it's 3 minutes after the half hour. We're going to keep going until about another 5 minutes or so, just because we got a lot of good questions rolling in. So if you guys want to hang in there, we'll do more Q&A. Questions, related to that is coming in around pricing and subscription. And what I'll tell people on the line is the way we charge is really two buckets. One is on data stored inside of Snowflake, and we just pass through the cloud provider storage costs. So for like AWS, that's $23 a terabyte a month. After compression, which is very cheap, it's just a pass-through. The second thing we charge on is compute resources. So those would be our warehouses, if you will, that actually do the processing of ETL jobs or queries against the data. And that's basically using things like AWS EC2 under the covers or Azure VMs under the covers. So those are the two ways we price. And if you want more detail, just Google Snowflake pricing. And we do have different editions of Snowflake. The premium editions come with more functionality, and just Google Snowflake editions, and you can see grids of what sort of incremental capabilities you get in each edition. Okay, so
and Gil, from user perspective, I think the best way, like it's very difficult to project costs, right? I think the best way to approach it is to start working in it, like start a POC and work with Snowflake and kind of load in the data. And I have to tell you, like working with Snowflake has been such a good experience. Like the rep is pretty much like you don't have to start from scratch. They have a lot of like example code thing that allow you to start and run with it immediately. I think that's super helpful to know that. Yeah, so that's what we did, because I was not confident in cost. I'm just coming from the world where, like, you know exactly what you paid for upfront, but this is, like, different. So going through the exercise of, figuring it out and try to do a calculation, project the data, number of users, and all that stuff is going to get you to the final number.
Gotcha. Yep. By the way, so Yoke, in terms of the migration from Redshift to Snowflake, I can't remember if you touched on this, but how did you manage that transition period from going from Redshift to Snowflake? Was it you sort of check and validate things are working well in Snowflake before you ported people over, or was it just turn off Redshift and fire up kind of Snowflake? How did it work, the transition?
We haven't turned off Redshift just yet because we're utilizing Redshift for ad hoc, like ad hoc analysis, and some of our legacy system is still relying on Redshift, but we are going to migrate off of Redshift like Q2 of this year. But we were building and we were trying to build an OLAP queue inside of Redshift, and that was not successful. So we never, get to release the product. So we are doing, we still keep the OLAP queue in parallel with Snowflake migration, and then we kind of compare, from the reporting standpoint, just kind of comparing the data and slowly migrate the user of OLAP into Snowflake.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, yep. Another question comes in. It said, in a prior slide you had mentioned NetSuite was a data source. And the question is sort of how are you doing that? They had a hard time doing that with a different data integration tool. So I think maybe you're using Mattila, but maybe talk through how you're pulling data out of NetSuite.
So just to be clear here, we have multiple phases, right? So like I said, our first objective is to replace OLAP queue. We're doing things backward, right? We fixing the data model and the reporting side, not so much of the data sources. So for this particular project, we unload data from Redshift into Snowflake because we have a tight timeline. But we are actually working through bringing in data right now inside of Mattila from NetSuite. And yeah, we do face a few challenges, and we have a vendor and we have someone that we can kind of bounce idea off and, ask them if we run into any issues. So I would recommend that, working with your vendor to overcome the challenges.
Okay. So I'll just quickly answer a couple questions here. One is, can Snowflake run Python notebooks? The answer is, yeah, we can be the back end. We have, JDBC, ODBC connectors, also ones for Spark and other technologies. So yeah, we can be the back end to Jupyter. Someone's asking, how do I get a trial for more than 30 days? If it's the free trial, it lasts only 30 days. You can always put in a credit card to extend it, or reach out to Snowflake Sales. You can talk to them about extending it as well. Use cases for migrating from MongoDB to Snowflake. So in that case, it really depends on what you're using MongoDB for. If you're using it as sort of a transactional database, OLTP, that's not really Snowflake. We're more of a data warehouse, OLAP. But some people use MongoDB for reporting, and they use it like a data warehouse, and they hook up BI tools. So in that case, Snowflake is perfect for that. Really, again, it depends on the use cases.
And the general blueprints, regardless of your technology, right, you can kind of unload your data into S3 buckets, and from S3 buckets you can stream it directly into your Snowflake. So that's kind of our blueprint for the next iteration.
Yep, gotcha. And then I guess we'll do is maybe one more question here for you, Yoke and Doug. This one's, again, people seem to really be interested in the BI side of things. So question is, do you have real-time dashboards in Power BI? And what's the minimum refresh rate you could achieve using Snowflake data with Power BI?
So right now, we are on a daily refresh right now. But like I just mentioned, we are working on iteration 2, which is streaming data real time into S3, and the data would then be available immediately on the dashboard.
Gotcha. Okay, so what we've done now is, there are a few other questions, but we've gone 10 minutes over now. So just respect people's calendars here. What we're going to do now is we're going to close, stop with the Q&A. But for all you on the line, this office hours was recorded. It'll be sent to you later via a link in an email. And I do want to thank, for sure, Doug, Yoke, Lucid for the great content. And I also want to thank all of you in the audience for the great questions. I mean, we had a lot of phenomenal questions rolling in, so thank you so much. Hopefully we'll see you at the next office hours in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, I'd encourage all of you to go to snowflake.com to learn more about us, see case studies and videos. And also on the homepage, you'll see a button there to sign up for a free 30-day free trial of Snowflake, where you get $400 worth of free credits. And we also give you a tutorial and some demo data. So if you just follow the tutorial, you'll load data into Snowflake, and we'll teach you how to build databases and tables and warehouses and run queries against it, and you'll have that aha moment within 30, 60 minutes, and you can start putting in your own other data sources if you'd like. So with that, thanks for your time, and have a good day. Thanks, everyone.